call to order this meeting for Monday, April 7th. Jordan, start us with a roll call, please.
Please respond by stating present. Councilmember Ronayne.
Present.
Foberg.
Present.
Liebelt.
Present.
Ward.
Present.
Johnson.
Present.
Langer.
Present.
Norvstrup.
Present.
Mayor Shoneman.
Present. Please stand with me for the Pledge of Allegiance. First order of business will be to approve this week's agenda. I would take a motion.
Move to approve. Second.
Motion Ward, second Norvstrup. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries. Next is the approval of the minutes from the previous meeting to place 2 weeks ago on March 24th.
Move to approve.
Second.
Got a motion from Councilwoman Liebelt and a second from Councilman Ward. Does anyone on the council have anything as it relates to these minutes? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carries. No one was signed up for open forum when I arrived. Is that still the case, Chief? Still the case. Consent calendar. We've got a handful of routine city businesses, including a nominating petition for our own Tiffany Langer. We've got a lottery notice, a license renewal for Rollies in Tokyo, some bid dates to be set, and a public hearing, as well as a medical cannabis dispensary permit for the flower shop. I would take a motion to approve our consent calendar agenda items.
Second.
Motion Norvstrup, second Ward. Anyone have anything on any of these items before we take a voice vote on these? Motion carries with that one abstention that Jordan will take note of. We'll move along to our old business where we've got a second reading, which would also serve as a final adoption for an ordinance requiring building permit moving. Ken, you walked us through in great detail 2 weeks ago at our previous meeting what the changes in this ordinance would stipulate. Have you heard anything in the meantime?
Thank you, Mayor. We have had no additional comments and no changes. Staff recommends approval.
I'll move to approve it.
Second.
Got a motion from Councilman Johnson, a second from Councilman Ward. Any final thoughts from the council before we take a final vote on this update of our moving ordinance? Jordan?
Councilmember Ronayne.
Aye.
Foberg.
Aye.
Liebelt.
Aye.
Ward.
Aye.
Johnson.
Aye.
Langer.
Aye.
Norvstrup.
Aye.
Mayor Shoneman.
Aye, motion carries. Moving along to our new business. This will be a fun one for us here today. Our first order of new business is a presentation of our upgraded city website. Here is Ms. Amber Schwab, our Economic Development Manager, who spearheaded the project over the last year. And it looks like it went live week before last, was it?
That's correct. Mr. Mayor and council members, I'm excited to present to you today our new and improved city website. It was designed with the citizens in mind. So whether you're looking for city updates, permits, events, or important services, the new site makes it easier than ever to find the information our citizens in the community will need. User-friendly navigation was one of our main functions, as well as a mobile-friendly design, faster access to all of our city services, and improved search features. So I encourage you all to check it out, play around on it, see what you think. I will take feedback. I can handle it. It's what makes it better. So a few things to note. The cleaned up navigation, I do have it on the screen, so if you can see it. We wanted to make it nice and streamlined, so we went with department, government, and communications. We have a tier 1 navigation across the top with 5 areas: administration, city services, library, parks, rec, forestry, and I can't see the last one. But then we did the subcategories underneath of it, and we wanted to keep them nice and tidy, no more than 8. And then between 5 and 8 is what we were striving for. So that way, when a citizen opens up the website on the computer or on their mobile device, it is very easy to scroll And also the box won't close on them. Before we had a lot of items under here, so when you would try to navigate, say down to the library, which was way at the bottom, the box would close and it was really hard for you to get to where you needed to go. So we did that in all departments and under each category. So that's that nice streamlined navigation. Another thing to make note of is we did decide to go with 4 new department headers for public safety, Parks, Rec, and Forestry, the library, as well as Storybook Land and Wiley Park. We wanted those departments to be, when you click on them, that it really gave them their own look and feel, as the library is a unique feature within our city and services we offer, as well as Parks and Rec and public safety. So I'll give you an example. If you click on Parks, Rec, and Forestry here, give it just one sec. They have their logo up in the corner, and they were able to have their own navigation across the top. And they were also able, in the graphic tiles at the bottom and their resource bar, to put functions and features that are unique to their department. So for example, registering for programs or booking a tea time at Lee Park, if you want to get a library card at the library, or if you want to go to the fire department or the police department, everybody has their own navigation. So we thought that that would be very helpful, and also, again, create that look and feel and just make the citizen know that that is the specific site they're on within the city website. We also updated third-party sites to match the look and feel. So under Parks and Recreation, when you click on Register for Programming, this is actually a third-party site, but we went ahead and made sure that the font was the same, the color scheme was the same, we kept the logo, and then when you scroll down, it actually has those graphic tiles that the other header pages have. So it still feels like you're on our site. And a really neat thing, you continue to scroll through the latest news, you can actually see what's happening at the library. If we have a public alert about solicitations for scamming, you can see the Parks and Rec upcoming guide. You can see the events that are going to be happening at public safety with their run from the police or their bike rodeo. So we're able to share what's happening across all the departments in the city. Also, if they had a department header, everyone will have a calendar, and everyone is updating the information on the calendar. So whether it's city council meetings, whether it's information from the library, whether it's registration day for Parks and Rec, it'll be on our calendars. So that's really, really nice too. So calendars in use, everyone can see all the amazing events at all of our city facilities. So that's just a brief rundown of everything that's there, and I cannot stress enough how thankful I am for the entire city and all the departments and all the workers' time and energy that went into this. And I will tell you, we have a team of about 15 champions that know how to use this program inside and out now. So thank you to everyone for volunteering someone or voluntelling someone that they needed to help with this project. It was a long process, and honestly, everyone loves what they did, and they're actually excited to be a part of our public information team moving forward, where we continue to update the website so it stays current, and we continue to keep items on the latest news section. Does anyone have any questions?
I want to say thank you, first and foremost, as a person that had trudged around in the old version. I know there was a lot of discombobulated information, a lot of unnecessary information, and it looked like a lot of things have been kind of thrown on there without a lot of consideration to the rest of it. So really glad that you're able to restructure and reorganize this thing, and it should make it a lot easier.
Content cleanup was a huge part. I think we worked about 6 months on content cleanup. Originally, there was over 900 pages, and now we're around 400. This also afforded us the availability of being able to put a lovely video on that front page and able to upload more imagery.
Perfect. Well, if anyone, Councilman Johnson.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. I think the updates and the upgrades are dramatic. Navigation, the simplicity of it is just really a beautiful step forward. Some beautiful drone work there early on when you click. Who should we credit for that?
That would be Production Monkeys. Thank
I
you,
did that
Travis.
at no cost. I went out one day and I took all that drone photography because I was jealous of what Sioux Falls had on their homepage. So
That's some of the best stuff on the site. Really, some pretty
Well, thanks.
Pretty
Alan.
aerials, yeah,
I
thank you.
appreciate you.
We also did some updated headshots. If you haven't seen that, you should check it out.
He was there for that.
That could be the scary part.
Go ahead, Tiffany.
This is a huge improvement on a million different levels. What are the goals moving forward on some of the things you didn't get to touch, I guess, with the website? Because I know we've talked about in the past, adding the third floor, like maybe starting the permit process online, or just some of those things that other cities are doing around South Dakota that we haven't been able to do yet. Is there any plans further?
Yes. So I briefly mentioned the public information team. So our group of champions that worked on the website will continue to meet. For a while, we're going to do bi-weekly, and then we'll tailor it back to once every third Thursday. But what we do in those meetings are continue to move our style guide and brand standards forward. And part of that is PDF fillable forms online. There's actually a couple available already. So if you look under departments, I believe under community development, under their forms and permitting section, we have some fillable forms already. And Stephen out of Jordan's department in finance has been working very hard, as well as Emily Ellingson, on updating those PDF and fillable forms. I cannot thank them for their help enough. And we will continue to do that. We're also getting the Aberdeen city logo and the right font across the top of all of the forms. So that'll be something else we do in our public information team, is continue to update forms and make sure everything looks cohesive across all departments. So if you have items that you have had pain points with in the past, again, feel free to bring those forward. I will make sure that our team works on that as a group as we continue to get the information out there to the citizens and make it as user-friendly as possible.
And maybe since you touched on that, maybe make mention of the updates to the Parks and Rec software.
Oh, absolutely. So that RecTrack software, we actually worked on the sub page and the sub splash page. And the next project we're moving on, moving forward, we're actually getting an app for our phones. So we have a meeting next week on Tuesday where we'll be working on the design elements, and then it should take about 60 days for us to get through all of that. So my guess is by end of summer, early fall, we will be launching that. It's easy now that we have all of the design elements in place, but that app is going to be so amazing for the citizens. The innovation, being able to book a tea time, being able to go into your program events, alerts coming to you in the palm of your hand on whether or not something was canceled or a location changed. It's going to be a game changer. So I'm very excited about the app, and thank you to Mark Hoven for accepting my crazy proposals.
Alan,
I had another question. Amber, do you know how many years has it been since the previous website update
I
or launch?
believe the full overhaul was 2010. There had been updates to the website and items added to the website, but a full overhaul has been since 2010.
Thank you.
Yes. And the upgrades do come with our package every 3 years. So this was done, it's something that's offered to us through Civic Plus every 3 years if we want to make design element changes. So we can continue to look at that and make adjustments. That's why I said feedback is something I would take, because in a couple of years from now, we can plan to change something if we need to.
That's a great,
Mr. Mayor.
It's a great
Go ahead,
feature as
Tiffany.
well.
Sorry, I feel like I'm keep going, but I just want to highlight again, this is why a position like yours is so critical in city government, because when I very first got on this council, this website was something that I was incredibly frustrated with and was a huge thing for me. Just trying to understand how to get a permit to build a fence during COVID, and just trying to navigate the impossibility of our website. And I found out about, the ability that we could have been upgrading and doing things, but who does it and who has the time? And again, why a position like yours is so vital in what we do, because this is how the people of Aberdeen communicate and try to get to one of us or to see what's going on. And that app will be super critical as well, and something that I was excited about us having, and what we can do and develop even further now that we have someone like you. So super exciting to see this move forward. Thank you again.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And again, I cannot stress enough that without each department head volunteering a member, this would have taken a lot longer because each department knows their information. And the best part of that is they know what needs to be pushed aside, what's relevant, what is maybe new that needs to be added. So it was awesome to have those champions to help. And it really shows how within the departments of the city, working together like this helps everyone understand each person's department so much better too.
Well, we have great department heads and we talk about it all the time, but nobody could have spearheaded this project. And that's why you have to have someone like you that's championing the whole thing. And that you've been great at that for a lot of different facets of what we do within the city. And this is just one of them. You know, each person has the time to contribute their little bit, but nobody within the city would have had time to do all of this unless you spearheaded that. So thank you again.
Thank you. Thanks.
Mr. Mayor,
Oh, go ahead, Councilwoman Fulbert.
I would just echo exactly what Tiffany said in that you have to have someone implement, or everybody can have the idea that the website needs to be updated, but until someone's carrying that load, it's not going to elevate to the top of anyone's list. So thank you, Amber, and it looks great, and I hope you're excited and proud of it.
Thank you, Erin, and we all are very proud of it. So thank you.
Mr. Mayor, I would like to commend young lady on the wonderful bills payable payment register. It makes it so much easier to go through the bills that have been paid and very few questions now. That is absolutely wonderful. Who's responsible for that?
That would be finance. And again, just looking at forms and everybody taking that extra second to say, how could we make this easier? So thank you to finance for looking at the forms and updating those.
I'm
And again,
very proud of it, and I'm proud of you. Thank you, and the finance company. Thank you.
There you go, Jordan. Thank you very much. Well, great feedback across all sides. Appreciate you joining us and walking us through that. So everyone on the council, maybe take a moment or two this week and peruse the rest of the site on your time, and we will let Amber know if we come across anything that needs to be addressed. Thank you for joining us, Amber.
thank you.
Next, we've got a possible approval of a memorandum of understanding, which relates to an initiative for South Dakota Early Learner Program. Robin, are you going to walk us through what that entails?
Yeah, I'll do this briefly. It was about a year ago, I think, you folks came to us and said, you know, we've got this, and it's a program that's statewide, and we're trying to move the early learner things ahead. And they sensed probably some hesitation on my part because I didn't know exactly what was going on. So we had Amber as part of that group as well. She represented us, I hope, well. And you guys walked through your Q-sort, LCAT kind of stuff. And so do you want to walk us through what your assessment of the community was and what we're trying to accomplish here?
Thank you for taking a few minutes to listen to us too. I'm Pat Winkler, and with the State Early Learner Initiative, I'm the navigator. So I've gone through some training on the state level. And then Gail Hortnum and Nicole Shutter, we all have the same goal in mind. And it's basically to make Aberdeen a better place for early learners. For those of you that don't know, early learners are children from birth to age 8, birth to age 8. We also include families and those who work with those children as well. We started, like you said, about a year ago, planning a group meeting. We had a really good turnout there. We got some people who were interested in knowing what this initiative was. So we have a core group of strategic action planners that have been meeting over this last year. The LCAT, which is an early learner community action tool, we went through that. There was probably 80 to 85 cards that we went through, and we basically had to give us a score. Are we doing this? Or do we plan to do it? Are we partially doing it? And just as an example, I will show you one that we are not doing, but it's something maybe we could do in the future. And it's consider what assets each partner has, financial and otherwise, and how they might be employed to further common goals. For example, when the school district is hosting trainings or conferences for teachers, could community-based people or providers be included in that? So that's just one example of one of the questions we had to answer. And that is something that we don't always get. Are those trainings opened up to community or home providers? So we did end up, there was a percentage that we could get at the end. There was a Excel spreadsheet we used, and we are actually at 42% that we are either partially doing or that we are doing fully in the city of Aberdeen. So what we're doing now is we're meeting either bi-weekly or monthly, this strategic action group, and we are working on improving those that we are not doing at this time. And there's quite a few of them, so I can't really go over all of them, but the two main areas that this group has decided to work on is creating a local resource guide, and then finding our local existing parent organizations and sending them information on what we're doing so we can get their input. So that's kind of an ongoing process right now. Last month, well, in February, we decided to host an early learner celebration. So we were lucky enough to get a good community turnout and good community support. So we had over 200 people in attendance. It was held at the Civic Arena last Monday night. We invited local parent resource agencies, community agencies, daycares, preschools to come in, hand out their resources, and set up a children's activity. And the people who attended absolutely loved it. There was no fee to attend. Magic Joe was there, and we also offered a free meal, pizza, chips, and water. And people absolutely loved it, so it's definitely something we will be doing again. With the MOU, the Memorandum of Understanding, under the state guidelines, the state early learner, they want to know that we have good community support. The main reason we want an MOU is really to have a representative from specific agencies helping us out. We don't know everything. We couldn't answer all the questions in the LCAT, but we got through a lot of them because we had such a diverse group attending. And yes, Amber did an excellent job. So that is really what we need. And because it's a community organization, we would really appreciate the city being part of the MOU signers. United Way signed last week. Aberdeen Development Corporation signed last week. The Public School District signed, and Northern has signed as well. So the city is the last to sign, if possible. Questions? Is that enough information for you, or do you need anything else from me?
I move to approve.
Second.
Second.
I've got a motion from Councilman Langer and a second from Councilman Ronayne to sign the memorandum of understanding. Is there any questions from anyone on the council about the memorandum itself or the community support?
Mr. Mayor, just a comment. Just want to say awesome job with everything you guys have done with this program. And absolutely right. Last week, Monday, was a great turnout. My kids had a blast. Couldn't get my boys away from Magic Joe, but my 6-year-old daughter was pulling me to every single little activity event that you guys had. So I think it hit it out of the park. Nice job, guys. Thank you.
Mr. Mayor,
Go ahead, Tiffany.
I also took my kids. I found out about it super late from Facebook, and I was so glad I went. It was so cool. I was way under overwhelmed at like what I thought it was going to be to what it was. It was so much cooler than I thought it was going to be. My kids loved it. We were there the entire time. We saw both magic shows. I got selected to participate, which was super fun. My kids are making me watch magic shows now because they want to see people get cut in half. So great job. How cool that you could engage 2 4-year-olds for that long for free. I was so impressed. I thought it was so cool. So I'm so excited that we get to do something like this with you.
Well, great. Well, thank you again for the hard work of the group. We're looking forward to seeing what can come of it. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Opposed, nay. Motion carries. Thank you for joining us and walking us through your progress. Next, we've got a possible appointment of Trevor Zenz to the City Planning Commission. It's a 5-year term. It begins in May on the 20th. Ken, tell us a little bit about Trevor.
Thank you, Mayor. Trevor will be filling the vacancy created by Tom Cogley's resignation from the board following his 10 years of service. Mr. Zenz grew up in Aberdeen before attending NDSU and obtaining degrees in environmental design and landscape architecture. He also served as a planning commissioner in North Dakota prior to returning to work and reside in Aberdeen last spring. Trevor's knowledge and experience will serve as an asset to the board going forward.
Thank you for
Move to
walking us
approve.
through that. We've got a motion.
Second.
Motion from Councilman Ronayne, second from Councilwoman Folberg. Any statements before we take our vote on this appointment? All right, I think it'll be a great fit for the group. Appreciate him stepping forward. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Opposed, nay. Motion carries. Next is our public hearing and possible approval of a 1-day retail on-sale liquor license. The date is May 3rd. It's for the Boys and Girls Club's Wine Fest, which takes place at their facility each year. I would take a motion to approve their 1-day on-sale liquor license request.
Move to approve.
Second.
Got a motion from Councilman Ward and a second from Councilwoman Liebelt. Anyone have anything before we take a vote on this one? All in favor, please say aye.
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 Opposed, nay. Motion carries. Next is an abatement of property taxes for real property existing within our city limits. Jordan will walk us through the implications of that abatement. Jordan?
Thank you, Mayor. The Brown County Auditor's Office submitted an abatement request for one parcel on 10th Avenue Southwest. It's very minimal. They removed the house. Staff is recommending approval of this abatement. The city share is $10.55.
Move to approve.
Second.
Got a motion from Councilman Johnson, second Councilwoman Liebelt. House has been removed. Hopefully it'll be used for some positive purpose moving forward.
I hope so.
We'll all share in that sentiment then, I guess, of positivity. Jordan, would you give us a roll call, please?
Councilmember Ronayne.
Aye.
Foberg.
Aye.
Liebelt.
Aye.
Ward.
Aye.
Johnson.
Aye.
Langer.
Aye.
Nordstrom.
Aye.
Mayor Shoneman.
Aye, motion carries. Next, we've got a possible approval of a first reading of a resolution to submit a grant application to our state for construction of a new playground at Sunshine Park, as well as for Robin to sign that grant application. And here is Mark to represent the Parks and Rec Department about that grant. Mark, good to see you.
Yeah, thank you. Back again. This is a yearly thing for us. The Land and Water Grant application process is going forth. This year, the board is recommending that we do a project over at Sunshine Park for playground improvements. The grant is for $200,000, 50% funding, so our share is $100,000. The resolution that you'll be voting on commits the city to make sure that in the 2026 budget that there's $100,000 there for this project, and the park board will do what they can to convince Robin to do that. So well, hopefully that'll happen. So just a little, as we go through these playgrounds, this is a playground that was put in about 1998. There was kind of an end of life. We figured 20 to 25 years, and there's a replacement program that we work through on our playgrounds, and this is up for that replacement to be done. And as far as the grant application goes, they score these playgrounds under the South Dakota Outdoor Recreation Program. The SCORE program and playgrounds are one of their big things to try to keep them safe, keep them replaced, keep them new. So it should score well within the grant application as well. So any questions?
Say, Mark, a conversation that Councilwoman Langer and I had prior to this meeting was about the directly south of there, that we've got a neighborhood with no parks in it whatsoever. I know that it's been a passion project of hers because she's got young children down there, and you and I had talked about it a couple of different times. Is there a possibility to fast track that thing a little bit? We're talking about 2026 already for replacing this playground equipment. Is there a possibility to do something down there, and what would the timeline look like?
Well, again, we don't have any property down there, and so I did, after my conversation with Councilwoman Langer, I did give a call down to Pierre really quick, talk to the grant coordinator. The only grant we could supply down there would be for purchasing only, for property. You have to have title to the property to purchase equipment for that, so we wouldn't have that in time. Grants have to be in by the 25th of April, so too quick a turnaround. So the only grant that we could submit to Pierre would be for 50% of whatever land purchasing would be down there.
What would the timeline on that be? Would that be a year subsequent to this?
Well, we could submit 2 grants and see how they view that. We've done that in the past, but they would rule on that then. The grant committee would look at both grants. They might come back and say, what's your preference here? We'll give you with this or that, or there's some negotiations that do happen from time to time. My recommendation, and the recommendation I would make to my board, if we're going to go that route, is to hustle and get a second grant application put together and submit it for the land. If it gets rejected, or the one of them gets rejected, we can deal with it there. So, but that would be my recommendation, and I would let the board know that we would try to turn this around pretty quickly. We have to get a resolution passed as well, just like this, for that grant as well.
Mr. Mayor.
Go ahead, Councilwoman Langer.
I do know that, I did have some conversations about the land, that different land that is the potential in that area. And I do know that we would be able to acquire the land more quickly than not, if we were buying something, with a structure on it or something that was a little bit more difficult, but looking at just lots of land, we would be able to acquire it as quickly as 2 to 3 days kind of thing. So that I'm not as worried about as I was. I obviously live in that subdivision, but it's been something that the neighbors in that area have talked about at lengths and wanting to park in that area. The idea that people who live in that neighborhood would walk to Sunshine Park or across Melgard with their kids really isn't a thing. We're going to get in our car and just drive to Melgard Park or drive somewhere because the walk isn't really a thing. There is land available, and I do think that it's something that this is the first time I felt like we could really do it, and 2 parks in that area is better than 1 as far as safety and the kids in that area. So I don't know if it is possible for us to apply for the 2 or if there is some shifting available at all, but.
The caveat that I'll give to this is that if the grant gets approved, and it is land and water money, that land for its life has to maintain a park. You would not be able to sell it. So that's part of the grant process. It's in there that, once they put land and water money into there, the federal money goes into it, that property will remain park property. And nothing will change that. So that is a caveat there, if there is a thought down the road.
So, Mark, that was one of the positions that I had spoken with you about last October. Do you think that's enough space to have a small park?
Well, and Garfield Park is our smallest park that we currently have. That's at 0.5 acres. I think this park, we measured it out today, is just right over 0.4 acres.
You're talking about the 2 residential lots that are for sale?
Yeah. So it's small. You probably, all you would get in there is a playground, and that'd be it. Off-street parking is a concern as well, but that's all you'd get. But Garfield is 0.5 acres, if you know where that's at, down on South Arch Street and 8th Avenue, 8th Street there. So, yeah, it is what it is. But they would there probably would be room to put a playground in there, but probably not much more than that. So.
And the private owner, you said you had a conversation with, and there wasn't any pull on the west side of that. Okay, well, appreciate you, and you'll be able to put together a grant application, you think, or at least give it a try.
If that is the will, I can get to work on it yet tonight. No, but tomorrow morning.
The council, you guys all feel like that would be worthwhile to pursue land for that? I think that that would be the will if that's the go-ahead.
Mr.
you're
Mayor?
looking for. Go ahead, Councilwoman.
It's not my district, but I do like the idea that because there's a really busy road there and then it's dense residential there. It's not just single family homes. There's apartments and townhouses down there too. So I think there would be a need for a park relative to some other neighborhoods that are all single family. Just because of the density. It would be nice to know that if it happens, that there would be a plan for trails to go down there as well. To make sure that all of our parks are connected somehow and safely.
Thank you, Councilwoman, and I appreciate the input from everybody. And so have we got our motion and our second for the passage of the resolution?
Move to approve.
Second.
Okay, we've got a motion, Ronayne, second, where was that, David?
Northstrop.
David Northstrop on that for the passage of the resolution for the grant application as it stands, and Mark has told us he'd pursue the other. Appreciate you doing that.
Mr. Mayor,
Go ahead,
I just
Councilwoman.
had a couple more questions on it. I'm so sorry. If we pull together this other grant application, what does the timeline look like on something like that?
Okay, well, it's still, the thing you
If
gotta
that-
remember these grants, let's say it gets approved in June. Okay, they approve the grant, it's still a 2026. The funds, their funds are not available to 2026. So when we deal with this here, you're talking a year out at
Okay.
least. So that's the kicker in the sale of the land is that you gotta, somehow or another,
So if we were to acquire the land before the grant is approved, then that
that's not
nullify.
gonna work.
Okay.
Yeah, I've worked enough with these grants to know that, and I will talk to Carrie again in the morning, A, to make sure we do 2 grants, but B, is what happens when these land purchases, because who's gonna wait around a year to sell their land? And just like with this grant, as we go into this grant, well, I'll go back to the splash pad. We have the splash pads that are gonna be built out of storybook land. We are waiting on federal approval of that grant, because there's some things going on in Washington. It's been approved at the state level, it's gotta be approved at the federal level. We can't do anything until that federal level grant comes in, so we are basically spinning our wheels waiting for that to happen. Our hope was to get that done this year, and I hope it'll still happen, but without that federal approval, that's where you get caught up with these grants a little bit. This may not be the smartest move to do this, it's a poor term, but because you're talking 38, let's say it's 70,000 for 2 lands, it's $35,000 grant. Again, we got a $100,000 grant here in front of us that we probably would get for Sunshine, So, I mean, you're out for land purchasing, so I think, and I would have to talk to Carrie in the morning to see how that reads. We've never, in my experience of writing grants, I've never wrote a grant for purchasing of land. So, a little experience there.
Mr. Mayor.
David?
I didn't know land south of Melgard was available until about 5 o'clock, so I'm trying to play catch up. But another option, and I don't know what precedent is on this, but and I don't know what Jordan has for funds either, but would it be practical to at least secure the land in a relatively short period and only submit one application, the one that's in front of us for Sunshine, and then once we secure that land, then that could be a grant application maybe next year or something.
And that probably would be appropriate, because you'll get more money out of the grant program then than you would probably this year, so.
The city council would approve the purchase, and then I don't know if we'd give it to Parks and Rec. I mean, it's all city entities, but how that process would work. So
If that was the case, we're already talking about 2026 for this. Would there be a way to leapfrog that and have this part take timing precedence over the other so that this one could be done first, and then eventually we get to Sunshine in either 2027 or somewhere down the road?
Yeah, I mean, the hang-up is the fact you don't own the land, and you need to purchase the land, and you need to have clear title on that land before you can apply for a grant. And I don't know if that can happen that quickly, to make it happen that way. And if we don't get our grant application in by the 25th, then we're not eligible. And again, these are competitive grants throughout the state. I think there's $1.1 million for land and water money that's spread throughout the state. So we're in a little competitive process as well with them, so.
Mr. Mayor?
Go ahead.
Just, I appreciate you presenting this, and I like these ideas that Councilman Langer is having. I would like us to move forward with improving the park that we currently have. While I think the ideas of expanding into more parks, I think is a very valid idea. Looking at the maps here, there's nothing around that area. You know, they do have the First Baptist Church over there that has a little area that I used to play on. I don't think there's a playground equipment or anything there. So I'd encourage maybe that we should look at what options are out there and possibly available. But also at the same time, if we do that, if we're looking at developing other city parks, I would like to do, doesn't have to be like a paid for study, but just how far away are a lot of these? I'm looking from the very farthest south development in this area that we're talking about. It's less than a mile, 0.8 miles from Sunshine Park. I don't think that's significant. I don't know though. Maybe, without doing any other research on it, this is the only address I Google searched. But that would be something I'd like for us to consider, is seeing, hey, is this the most far out one? And maybe you have information on that potentially, but that would be kind of my suggestion. Is with the timelines, I understand these aren't quick processes, and this is a very competitive grant that we'd probably be awarded to improve our existing park. And then I'd say maybe ideation on looking at other parks, definitely in the cards. But
Mr. Mayor.
Go ahead, Tiffany.
I mean, definitely agree that Sunshine Park is important, and don't disagree with what we're looking at doing here. But I will say, in my 5 years on the council, this was like a passion project from day one. And the idea that like land just might appear is just, I mean, I've sat with Jordan, even last year when I knew it was potentially my last year on the council, saying, what can we identify? Who can we talk to? And there is no land over there. Each of these subdivisions is supposed to have a park. And when I found that out, I was pretty frustrated that this subdivision doesn't have one, especially because of the investment that people put into that subdivision and building it up, and the amount of children that there are, and the apartments that are over there, and Safe Harbor. There's just a lot going on in that subdivision. And the idea that even though Sunshine Park is 0.8 miles, that we're going to walk there in 100-degree heat and have our kids play or let our kids cross Melgard is just not feasible, even with the great stoplight that was added. This process takes a long time, and the land is available now, and that land is going to go. And so I don't really like the idea of waiting and checking out different areas, or that's all been exhausted in my opinion. And I know because I've worked really, really, really hard on this. And when I say I've spent 5 years on it, I mean that wholeheartedly. And I don't want to see this land go away. And I'm not saying that this has to be the answer, but I definitely don't want to see this kick down the road another 2 to 3 years, because I don't know that I'll be sitting here in 2 to 3 years. And I don't know that the next person sitting here is going to care as passionately as I do, and the people in the Southeast District in general do about this. So
Maybe I could float another option to you. If land was to be purchased, we could approach our borders and budget process for 2026 anyway. There might be an opportunity to look at our capital money, and maybe we have to divert some money into playgrounds, not through the grant program. I do feel that getting it into a land and water where it's going to be held into park for perpetuality, that may not be the best move, and maybe we're better off trying to work through the board. And I can bury the first director coming on after me and tell him this is what's going to happen. But maybe we try to funnel some money out of our capital money to try to get the playground in 2026, obviously not 2025, but at least you'd have a playground a year from now that we could do. And then we avoid this grant process of taking all this time to go through all this. So I could task our board with that, to take a look at it, get some numbers put together, and get a little plan put together for what it would take there. So.
Thanks. Yeah, I think that would be a better solution than to apply for a second grant for a fraction of the money that this one's already on the table for. So if you'll commit to fast tracking the options for securing some land and a playground in that neighborhood through other means aside from the grant, I think we'll take our vote on this, the grant applications approval here. So Jordan, would you give us a roll call vote?
Councilmember Norvstrup.
Aye.
Langer.
Aye.
Johnson.
Aye.
Ward.
Aye.
Liebelt.
Aye.
Foberg.
Aye.
Ronayne.
Aye.
Mayor Shoneman.
Aye, motion carries. Thanks for joining us,
Thank
Mark.
you.
Thanks for thinking outside of the box on that one. Next, we've got a possible approval to purchase agreement for acquiring land for the Public Works facility. Robin, would you walk us through that land in the industrial park, please?
Actually, I think we'll have Ron do this one.
All right, Ron, would you walk us through that potential purchase of the property in the industrial park?
I will, Mayor. Thank you. This is what I hope it will be the final step in the acquisition of the land that the city needs to expand its and build a new public works facility in what I think will be the new Aberdeen Industrial Park. If you'll recall, this past December, the council gifted back to ADC some land that ADC had gifted to the city several years earlier. This is all part of a card shuffle going on here to allow and facilitate the acquisition by ADC of this property, to allow it to move forward with some infrastructure grant funding, and then at the same time for us to secure what we think we need. There is roughly 19 acres. There was that original lot, which on the attachment is shown as lot 1, and then there's a second lot 2. What this purchase agreement is essentially is for the purchase price for what ADC is spending to acquire the 6.8 acres. So it's the $301,000 is the purchase agreement amount. And there are provisions within the agreement to allow the city to go ahead and move forward upon execution of the agreement, to start moving forward if it chooses to do some prep work, construction, preparing the site for eventually more construction. I know that there's been some conversations about moving forward on looking at the bonding and looking at what that building is going to look like, but this is the final step in the trading with ADC, but really the first step for us on the new public works facility, which I know that is immensely needed by the public works department. And so the administration would recommend that the council approve the purchase agreement, authorize Robin to sign it, and let us start moving forward now with final planning on the new public works facility.
One item that I will add here is that really truly to build the building and to have a facility, this additional ground is not needed. But it does give us the long-term things that we want to have so that we don't outgrow that spot in short term. So this is a good long-term vision, I think, that we've got, and that's really what the intent is to make sure that everything's there when we start building, so.
Robin, has anything changed with the access to the north? The Old Crow Road Lane or whatever it's called?
At this point, there's no contemplation to utilize Old Crow Lane for that particular facility. That would be potentially for other parts of that area, but not for this facility. So the front door will utilize the road to the east of what's platted as Old Crow.
All right, thank you for that explanation. Anyone from the council care to make a motion to approve this purchase agreement?
Second.
Got a motion from Councilman Northrup and a second from Councilman Johnson. Any questions on the council as it relates to this property? Jordan?
Councilmember Ronayne.
Aye.
Fauberg.
Aye.
Liebelt.
Aye.
Ward.
Abstain?
Johnson.
Aye.
Langer.
Aye.
Norvstrup.
Aye.
Mayor Shoneman.
Aye, motion carries. Next, we've got a possible approval to pay request number 3 to the water treatment plant heater exchange, $63,195.30 to Climate Control. Stu, would you walk us through that pay request?
Sure. So, thank you, Mayor. This is really kind of the final step to this. There's still just a little bit of work to do to balance the system out and a couple punch list items to completely close the project out. But the heat exchanger is installed and it's actually functioning. So we're really at the end of the project here.
Move to approve.
Motion Johnson, second Northrup. Any questions for Public Works Director Stu? One. All right, Jordan.
Councilmember Norpstrup,
Aye.
Langer,
Aye.
Johnson,
Aye.
Ward,
Abstain.
Liebelt,
Aye.
Foberg,
Aye.
Ronayne,
Abstain.
Mayor Shonneman.
I will also abstain, but we do have the votes to make the payment, which is good. We have next a possible approval of the recommendation for the bids for our project annual concrete repair work. Stu?
Thank you again, Mayor. So this is our annual concrete work project that we do to kind of account for any miscellaneous concrete construction that we encounter throughout the year. And it is under the engineer's estimate for this and right where we budget for this every year. So on all three of these projects really that we're looking at here, we've got good prices this year.
I'll move it for approval.
Second.
Got a motion, Councilman Johnson, second Councilman Ward. Any questions before we take a vote? Jordan?
Councilmember Ronayne,
Aye.
Foberg,
Aye.
Liebelt,
Aye.
Ward,
Aye.
Johnson,
Aye.
Langer,
Aye.
Norpstrup,
Aye.
Mayor Shonneman.
Aye, motion carries. Next, possible approval of the recommendations of the bid for the accessible sidewalk quadrant improvements, also presented by Stu. What have you got?
So this is our annual project that we do where we replace curb ramps and make them accessible, both using the detectable warning panels so that they're something that if you're visually handicapped, you can see them. And then, of course, the ramp for wheelchairs. So we've been doing this project for a number of years, probably close to 20, and we're making really good progress on basically eliminating all of the non-compliant quadrants in town. And with the bid coming in the way it does, that really, with that extra money that we have under budget, we can work to replace additional quadrants and do more work than what we had actually anticipated that we could do. So it's again a good price for this kind of work.
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion from Councilwoman Liebelt, second Councilman Johnson. Any questions? Go ahead, Councilman Johnson.
Thanks, Mayor. Stu, looking forward, how many more years before we reach kind of the finish line here?
We'll be through everything where we have all the non-compliant quadrants within 3 years. Then we get to go back and start working on the partially compliant ones. And we've also are going to go from the federal standard is going to go from the ADAG standard to the ProWAG standard, which is a little bit more restrictive is the wrong word, but there's some higher standards that are set in that. And so then that really means that eventually when we go back and start replacing these partially compliant ones, then some of the ones that we've constructed in the past will fall into that. So it's an ongoing process. It's going to be around long after all of us are probably not here anymore. So
One thing you probably could do is define what partially compliant is.
So a partially compliant ramp would be, say the ramp is there, but maybe it doesn't meet the slope requirements to, use a wheelchair on it, or it doesn't have the detectable warning panels, or it isn't the proper size. So it's something that can be used, or is, for people with different disabilities could use it, but maybe not everybody.
Thank you.
Appreciate that explanation. And the question, Councilman Johnson. Jordan, would you give us a roll call vote? Jay.
Councilmember Norpstrup,
Aye.
Langer,
Aye.
Johnson,
Aye.
Ward,
Aye.
Liebelt,
Aye.
Foberg,
Aye.
Ronayne.
Aye.
Mayor Shonneman.
Aye. Motion carries. Final item of new business for the evening is the recommendation on bids for our street maintenance concrete repair. Stu, last one for you. What have you got?
So this project is the one where we fix curb and gutter, quite simply in the area where we're gonna be chip sealing and doing pavement repairs. So, our city crew will go out and identify the areas that have drainage problems and mark those out, and our contractor will come in and repair those.
Move for approval.
Motion Johnson, second Northrup. Any other questions on this one? Jordan?
Councilmember Ronayne.
Aye.
Foberg.
Aye.
Liebelt.
Aye.
Ward.
Aye.
Johnson.
Aye.
Langer.
Aye.
Norvstrup.
Aye.
Mayor Shonneman.
Aye, motion carries. Bills and, oh, go ahead.
I was just gonna ask, where is the chip sealing scheduled for this
So
summer?
this year, I'll get close here. It's north of the railroad tracks and west of State Street, I believe.
Great.
So pretty much anything out there that's not a concrete street is gonna get chip sealed.
Thanks.
All right, thank you very much for that clarification. Next, bills and payroll for this evening. Pay period is March 23rd through April 5th. I would take a motion.
Move to approve bills and payroll.
Got a motion from Councilwoman Liebelt and a second from Councilman Norvstrup. Jordan, would you give us a final roll call vote for the evening?
Councilmember Norvstrup.
Aye.
Langer.
Aye.
Johnson.
Aye.
Ward.
Abstain.
Liebelt.
Aye.
Foberg.
Aye.
Councilmember Ronayne.
Abstain.
Mayor Shonneman.
I also have to abstain here tonight, but we do again have the votes. The motion carries and we'll pay our bills. City manager's report is next. Robin, what have you got for us this evening?
Got a few items. We are starting to look at budget documents and putting things together so that department heads, departments can start their typical process. I think most of the departments have been working probably on assembling costs for equipment and projects well ahead of this, but the official documents I think we'll be providing to them here within a week or two. Secondly, our audit has started, and that'll keep a lot of the departments busy, including Jordan's. Jordan he'll look a lot different at the end of this, I'm afraid. And then we have a couple anniversaries to celebrate, both in PD this time. So Tyler Bogue received his 5-year certificate of appreciation actually today, and I believe we did Ty Ranke's 10-year certificate last week. So congratulations to those two, and that's all I've got.
Thank you again, Tyler, and thank you for Ty for your commitment to the community. I had one thing to add to that. On Friday night, we went to the Abbey Awards, and Robin was dedicated with the Legacy of Service Award, which is supposed to honor an individual whose dedication has made a lasting impact on the community, of course, which Robin has done for 30 years here. So thank you very much for your service, and you got a wonderful looking award out of the deal. If
Yeah,
nothing else, where are you
nice,
going to
very
put
nice.
that? Where are you going to put that thing?
I'm not sure.
It's
thank you.
stringy top. I don't know, how would you describe it?
Well, it's very modern looking and not something I would have designed. Let's put it that way. But it's really cool, and I appreciate it. It was a nice honor to get.
Thank you.
Give me
Well, there we go. Round of applause.
some of this.
Well deserved. Well deserved. I take a motion to adjourn the meeting.
Move to adjourn.
Second.
Motion Johnson, second Ward. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Opposed, nay. Motion carries. We are adjourned. Thank you all very much.